YouTube, what's going on, and welcome to my Champions League group stage predictions video. In this video, we are going to be going through the Champions League group stage and seeing my predictions for the Champions League group stage. So we start off with Group A, and I would start off with Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Malmo. So Paris Saint-Germain and also Real Madrid are the two big teams in this group and should definitely be the favorites to go through. Shakhtar Donetsk is a really solid team from Ukraine, but they lost star Douglas Costa to Bayern over the summer, and I really don't see any way how PSG or Real Madrid struggle in this group. But an interesting story in this group is that Ibra will go back to Sweden to face Malmo, I believe one of his former clubs, and he also has expressed interest in playing in the Champions League later in his career with Malmo. Maybe not against them, he intended, but it worked out that way, so Ibra will be making his return to Sweden to play against Malmo in the Champions League. Pretty interesting story for that. Unfortunately, I don't think Malmo really has a chance to do much in this group, but it's still good for them to make the Champions League group stage, and just really good for them, but I think Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid definitely go through. Next is going to be Group B, and that is PSV, Man United, CSKA Moscow, and also Wolfsburg. So this is a very wide open group. I think that Manchester United are definitely the top team in this group, as they took Memphis Depay from PSV, as he was a former PSV player, and United snagged him up. And I think United just have the best overall team in this group. It will be very interesting to see how Depay plays against his former club PSV. I think that Wolfsburg and PSV will be battling for the second spot. PSV still have a very strong, they have a pretty strong attack with guys like Luuk de Jong, even though they lost Memphis Depay and also Georginio Wijnaldum. And I don't think CSKA Moscow has the firepower to compete with Wolfsburg and PSV, even though they have a pretty decent team with guys like Zoran Tosic and also Seydou Doumbia, the FIFA legend. But eventually, at the end of the day, I think Wolfsburg narrowly go through, even though I don't really like their team, especially after losing star center attacking mid Kevin De Bruyne. So I think they'll go down a little bit in the league, but I still think they have a strong enough team to get through to the Champions League round of 16. The next group is going to be Group C, and that is Benfica, Atletico Madrid, Galatasaray, and Astana. And I think that Atletico Madrid are the clear-cut favorites in this group. I really like them this year for the Champions League. I think they have one of the best top-to-bottom squads in Europe so far. Diego Simeone has created a powerhouse. They have plenty of attacking options like Luciano Vietto, Jackson Martinez, and Antoine Griezmann. Their midfield and attackers are great with underrated guys like Oliver Torres and others, and their defense is very solid with Godin and Jimenez leading as center backs, and they also re-signed Felipe Luis. I think they have a very good squad, and I would be very surprised if they go out in the group stage. I think they could easily make it to the quarters or the semis this year. I think they're that good. I think that Benfica and Galatasaray will compete for the second spot, as Astana from, I believe it's Kazakhstan, is making the country's first ever appearance in the Champions League group stages. I just think they don't have the firepower to compete with the Portuguese champs and also, I believe, the Turkish champs. I might be wrong about that in Galatasaray, but yeah, I think that Benfica narrowly go through against Galatasaray, even though they've had a little bit of a shaky start, I believe, in the Portuguese league. So I think that Benfica narrowly beat out Galatasaray, and Galatasaray will be going back to the Europa League. Next is Group D, and in my opinion, this is easily the group of death. You start off with Juventus, the runners-up last year in this competition, and also they won the Serie A for, I believe, the fourth straight year. Have had a very rough start to the season in Serie A, getting only 1 point from their first 3 games. The second team is Manchester City. The Citizens are playing very well in the Barclays Premier League, 15 points from 5 games so far in the Barclays Premier League. The third team, Sevilla, I believe they won the UEFA Europa League, and that's how they got into this spot in the Champions League group stages. And they've made some really good summer signings like Konoplyanka from Ukraine. That was a really good signing for them, as they just have a very deep team. Even though they lose a guy like Carlos Bacca, I still think they have a very deep team and are very dangerous in this competition. And the final team is Mönchengladbach, so they're going to be no pushovers either. They're from Germany. They got guys like Patrick Herrmann, and they lost Cruz, but they still have a pretty solid squad, and this group is just very tough from top to bottom. Wolfsburg and Mönchengladbach are, I think, easily the best teams from Pot D, and I think that this is just a really tough group from top to bottom. I think that Man City get that first spot, and I think that Sevilla, Juventus, and Mönchengladbach will all battle for the second spot, as Juventus have not looked good so far in the Serie A, but I narrowly think that Juventus can just get through this group with Sevilla and Mönchengladbach. So I got Juventus going through, even though I think it will be very difficult for them, as Sevilla and Mönchengladbach lead they're very tough opponents. This is the group of death. This was a very unlucky draw for Juventus and also Manchester City, because even though they're playing very well in the league, that might not translate into Europe. We saw a team like Borussia Dortmund, they made the Champions League knockout stages, even though they were I believe 16th in the league at the time. So league and European success definitely do not go hand in hand. The next group is going to be Group E, and this group is led by the current holders of the trophy, FC Barcelona. They are joined with Leverkusen, Roma, and Bate. So Bate are a very small club. They are probably going to struggle very hard in this group, and I think that they will struggle to even get a point. And Roma and Leverkusen are two very interesting sides, as Leverkusen, I believe, came in third in the Bundesliga last year, and they get in here. So I think that Leverkusen and Roma will be battling for the second spot, as Barcelona will take the spot. But I think that Barcelona are really on the down. They've been conceding a lot of goals in preseason, and also the trophy where the winners of the Europa League and also the Champions League play. They just concede a lot of goals. Defense has been looking very shaky, and I don't know, I'm just worried for Barcelona. I think they're fine in the group stages, but maybe in the quarterfinals or round of 16 or semis, they'll get upset, as I'm not very confident of them retaining the title. I think that Roma will narrowly beat out Leverkusen for the second spot in this group. I think that Roma have had a very strong start for the year, as I believe they beat Juventus 2-1 very recently in the Serie A. So that's good for them, as I just don't think Leverkusen have the firepower to keep up with Roma. Next group is Group F, and that is going to be Bayern, Arsenal, Olympiacos, and Dynamo Zagreb. This group was pretty favorable to Bayern, as Arsenal looked to be the only threats to them, and Arsenal looked to be clear-cut front-runners for the second place in this group, but Olympiacos could definitely give them some trouble, as I believe Olympiacos have beat them the past 3 times they have met in the Champions League group stages in Greece, so that could be a tough matchup for the Gunners. I think Olympiacos will give Arsenal a lot of trouble in this group, but I do see Arsenal getting through over the Greek Giants. Group G is going to be Chelsea, Porto, Dynamo Kiev, Tel Aviv from, I believe, Israel. So this is a pretty interesting group. I think that the two clear-cut frontrunners are Chelsea and Porto, with Dynamo Kiev being a pretty solid team. Ukraine getting 2 teams in the Champions League group stages, that's pretty incredible. Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Kiev have been very impressive. And even though I believe Dynamo had Kanapi Ankala, who went to Sevilla, I still think they're a very strong side, and they should give Porto and Chelsea some challenges, but I still think that Chelsea and Porto go through. Another interesting thing in this group is that Jose Mourinho will be going back to face his former club Porto, the team that he won the Champions League in, I believe, 2004. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. I do see Chelsea winning this group, even though they've had lots of struggle in the league. As I said before, Borussia Dortmund did fine, even though they were almost last in the league. So I think that Chelsea can do pretty well in this group as well. The last group is going to be Group H, and that is Zenit, Valencia, Lyon, and Ghent. I think this is probably the most wide-open group out of all the groups, as there really is no clear-cut frontrunner. I could see every single team making it to the Champions League knockout stages. I think it will be Valencia and Zenit, with Lyon a very close third and Ghent a close fourth. I think this group will be very competitive from top to bottom. Zenit is led by stars like Hulk and others, and like Danny, and Valencia have a really solid team from top to bottom. Guys like Danny Parejo and Jose Gaya will be strong, with Paco Alcacer up front, along with, I believe, Rodrigo. So they should be a very strong side, and Lyon are led by the 2 French brilliant strikers, which are Nabil Fekir and Alexandre Lacazette. So they should be a very strong side, but I do think that Valencia and Zenit just do a little bit better than them. But that will wrap it up for this video of my Champions League prediction. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for more in real life football videos.